The Disappeared, Part 3. Sylvia. Dear Eduardo, we are not alone in our sorrow over your arrest. The more we reach out to find you, the more we find others who are also suffering. There are so many. We wonder if our arms can embrace them all. Do you remember how you and I loved to watch puppet shows, believing the puppets were real, wondering where the characters went when they vanished beneath the stage? Argentina is like a giant puppet show with some reckless puppeteer making first one character disappear and then another. We see only the disappearances and never the hands that have snatched us from the stage. It was the military police who took you away, so Father went to the Army's first command and talked with the general there. Dr. Diaz, you have my sympathy, but no one in the military would enter the home of an Argentinian citizen. Of course, I will make inquiries, but I assure you such a thing is impossible. These are difficult times, and so we must rally around our country. It is unfortunate that your son should support those at the university and in the unions who oppose our government. Father said the general spoke in a dismissive tone and would not meet his eye. Mother asked, how did the general know about Eduardo's activities? Father shook his head. I never said a word. So we knew they had you. Still, Father went to the municipal police, who denied knowing anything about your arrest. This is an unruly country, the lieutenant said. Probably they were guerrillas wanting to get some ransom money. No doubt you will hear from them with a demand. By all means, let us know if that happens. Finally, in our desperation, Father went to the cathedral to speak with the bishop. We are losing our children, the bishop said. Still, it is wrong for you to oppose the state as they do. I'm very sorry for you, but your son should have chosen better friends. But another priest, young Father Paul, was waiting in the darkened church and motioned Father into the confessional, where they would not be seen. In a low voice, he whispered, there is a small band of priests who are dedicated to getting information about Los Desaparecidos. Give me a picture of your son. We will see what we can do. The priest took the picture of you that Father had brought for the bishop. Of course, what we do is dangerous, Father Paul said. Already, 2 of our group have themselves been arrested. But we are not afraid. Surely we have God on our side. Because of her poetry, Mother knows writers from other countries who are members of an international commission on human rights. One of them has written an article about the disappearances. When Mother contacted the woman, she said, many people have approached the commission for help, but we can do very little, for the Argentinian government will not cooperate with us. So there was no one to help us. Instead, we learned the stories of hundreds of other victims. To our own worry was added the sorrow of many others. Mothers and fathers were searching for their children, wives for their husbands, and husbands for their wives. One mother said both of her children had been taken. Students like yourself, she said, and embraced me as if I were her daughter. When I told her about you, I said I wished I had been taken too so that we could give each other courage. She covered my hand with hers. Thank God that you were spared so that you can help your parents find your brother, whether he is alive or dead. There was little to give me hope in words like that. But now my hope returns as I think of what she said. I was spared so that I might help find you. I say nothing to Mother and Father, but I am resolved to free you, and I have a scheme. You know how we loved spy films? How the first English words we learned were from the subtitles of American mystery movies? Danger was one of those words, and suspicion, and death. When we made up our own spy games, we took turns being the enemy and learning each other's secrets. We followed each other when we went out, slipping behind trees and hiding in doorways. I knew where in your room you kept your girlfriend's letter, and you knew in which drawer I hid the lipstick Mother couldn't find. The mystery movies taught us that you could fool people. You could enter into their lives pretending you were someone you were not. You would be trusted, and then you would carry out your scheme. Eduardo, you would only see the danger, but I see how I can free you. I have even chosen the boy I will use to carry out my plan. You always teased me about the boys who followed me around. Like bees after honey, you said. You would ask, what poor fool sent you those flowers? Whose heart are you breaking today? Once, when Mother and I were shopping for clothes, a department store manager asked if I would like to take up modeling. And you remember, last year the professor at the art school begged me to come and pose for the students. Just your face, he had said. It is the face of a Madonna. But I was too self-conscious. I blushed and said, I'm afraid my studies will not allow me the time. Now I will use my looks for something more useful than walking up and down a runway or sitting for artists. I will do whatever it takes to make Norberto fall in love with me. I will make him care so much for me that he will ask his father for your freedom. I am desperate enough, Eduardo, to hope I can touch the heart of someone you would say has no heart. If you were here, you would surely find a way to keep me from carrying out my plan, but this letter will not reach you, and you cannot stop me. Tonight, Friday, I have made an excuse to Rosa and Isabella. I'm going by myself to the disco where I danced with Norberto. I spent hours doing my hair in a new way and chose a dress that is provocative without being in poor taste. I look about as I enter the disco as if I'm meeting someone. At once, Norberto hurries up to me. Come and join our table, he says, while you wait for our friends. Just as I remembered, Norberto is a large, beefy boy. There is a meatiness to him that makes me think of a plate too filled with food. I can see he is aware of his father's importance, for he swaggers a little. He leads me to a table he shares with 2 other boys and their dates. The boys regard me with interest, moving over to make room for me. The girl who must be Norberto's date glares at me. The other girls give me a quick appraisal and turn away. In the past, the discos were exciting, but after they took you away, Eduardo, it is a small hell to be here, and I feel a wave of nausea at the thought of all those evenings I spent so foolishly. Norberto looks at me. What's the matter? Aren't you feeling well? Yes, of course, I answer quickly. Why don't we dance? He is on his feet at once, taking my hand to lead me onto the floor. His touch disgusts me. It is all I can do not to pull away. They are playing a tango, and he holds me close. I think that when he leaves me tonight, he will go home to his father, General Lopez, the man who ordered your arrest. And I want to run from the room. I begin to doubt that I can carry on this charade long enough to reach his heart. I close my eyes and think only of you, of what you are going through and how this will save you. When the tango is finished, I plead thirst, and Norberto leads me back to the table. He is drinking beer and wants to order one for me, but I ask for a Coke. You'll never have any fun that way, he says. I don't need beer to have fun. I tell him, and give him what I hope is a warm smile. He squeezes my arm. He tells me he likes my dress and the way I do my hair. He watches me like a fox watching a rabbit. Norberto and the 2 other boys discuss football. Argentina is going to host the World Cup soccer matches next year. Norberto and his friends have all played on local teams. While they get into an argument over whether Pele or Di Stefano is the greater player, the 3 girls bend their heads together to discuss the shops where they buy shoes. The shifting lights, the conversations that have to be shouted to be heard over the loud music, the warmth of the room from all the bodies, and the smell of cigarettes and beer are like a bad play in which I have only a silent walk-on part. Left to myself, I have time to consider the awful danger of what I am doing. Norberto is no fool. If he sees that I am using him, he may turn on me. But I tell myself I will discover in Norberto that small seed of goodness that is surely in everyone. And I will nourish it and make it flower, pushing through the dark evil that is his father. I look over at Norberto. His face is flushed, and he is emphasizing his point by pounding on the table with his beer bottle. There is some argument about the scoring on a match. You don't know what you are talking about, he is shouting at the other 2 boys. They shrug good-naturedly and let it go. But Norberto keeps pounding on the table. I see that he must always be right. If someone disagrees with him, he bullies them. I guess that they give in because they know General Lopez is one of the most dangerous men in Argentina. It is Norberto's father, General Lopez, whom I have singled out to free you. A hand on my shoulder makes me look up. I see Isabella and Rosa with her. Isabella gives me a look of disbelief. Norberto is about to make room for them when Rosa says in an icy voice, "No, thank you. We just wanted to say hello to Sylvia. With that, they leave to take a table on the other side of the room. I wait a few minutes and then make an excuse to go to the restroom. Norberto and the other two are back to their football discussion and pay no attention. I make my way across the room. You told us you couldn't come tonight, Rosa says. Something changed, I reply quietly. You've changed, Rosa says. You know Norberto is General Lopez's son. We said we weren't going to have anything to do with him. He may be the son, but he's not the general, I say. It's unfair to criticize him for what his father does. Does he disagree with his father, then? Isabella asks. We haven't discussed politics. From the expressions on their faces, I see they are confused and hurt. I want to whisper in their ears, only trust me, but I don't dare. Look, I have to go. I'm sorry about tonight. I dance every dance with Norberto. The girl he had been with sulks, but he pays her no attention. She might have been a stranger. When one of the other boys, ignoring his girlfriend's cold stare, asks me to dance with him, Norberto gives a nasty laugh and says, she's mine. So that is what I have become, Norberto's property. For a moment, I think of making some excuse and leaving, for I feel I am entering a series of caves, making my way down one dark tunnel to another with no direction and no escape. But Norberto is attentive. He sees that my glass is filled, orders a flan topped with dulce de leche for me. At the end of the evening, he insists on taking me home. In working out my scheme, I had planned to be in control, but shut with him in his car, I feel control slipping away. Norberto is an aggressive driver. He is his own army, laying siege to every car on the road, conquering it and battling on to overtake the next one. When we reach our house, Norberto says, let me drive you to Tigre this weekend to meet my parents. They are staying in their summer place for a few weeks, and I always go up to see them on Sundays. I try to picture a happy family scene. Instead, I imagine General Lopez in the middle of his family like a spider in the middle of a web. After a moment, Norberto asks, will you come? I am terrified of meeting the general, but I will tell myself that in Norberto's home, I will see another side of him, a gentler side. I will find the Norberto I need. Yes, I'd like that, I say. As he tries to take me in his arms, I spring out of the car. What's the matter? He asks in a hurt voice. I thought you liked me. I lean in the car window and kiss him goodnight. He tastes of stale beer and cigarettes. Eduardo, I am doing this for you.